Olis, ¿cómo están? Welcome to Chiquis and Chill podcast, your favorite podcast. I hope you all had a really great Mother's Day celebrating the most important women in your life. I definitely had a nice one, relaxing and celebrating Emilio's mom, and of course, my mom, even if she's not here physically, she deserves to be celebrated. Today, we'll be focusing on a topic I'm super passionate about. I'll give you a hint. We're going to be talking about the largest organ in the body. That's right. We're going to be talking about our skin. We all know it's very important to drink plenty of water and to wear SPF every day. Huge advocate for that. But what else can we be doing? And for those of us who suffer from skin conditions like rosacea, acne, eczema, what can we do to soothe that? To help us answer that question, I'm bringing on Dr. Julie Greenberg. She's a licensed naturopathic doctor and a registered herbalist. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Greenberg. I'm so excited to have you. I love anything that has to do with skin, so you can't even imagine how excited I am to have you on the podcast. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and I love skin too, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I appreciate that. I know that the listeners, you guys are going to love this episode. I'm going to ask all the questions for you guys. So I know we all want clear skin, but before we get into that, I do want to ask what a naturopathic doctor is.
So naturopathic doctors here in the United States where I live, it's a 4-year medical school degree, and we're licensed by state. So depending on the state, I could either be a primary care physician or it really depends on the state. An herbalist is not a doctor, but naturopathic doctors, our training is that we are herbalists. So instead of just writing a pharmaceutical prescription, we're trained in the use of herbal medicine. So we're doctors that are herbalists.
I love that. Okay, perfect. Okay, I have rosacea and I get it from my dad. And I saw him not so long ago, and I saw how with time, it can get thicker if you don't treat it. It is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it comes from the gut, right? It starts in the gut.
So rosacea is what we call a complex multifactorial disease. So there's not like one thing only that we can point to and say, that's the thing that causes rosacea.
Mm-hmm.
But you are absolutely correct that we do see a lot of what we call correlation between what's going on in the gut and patients who have rosacea. And there's some particular species of bacteria we can see in the gut of people who have rosacea, like something called H. pylori, which is a bacteria that lives in the stomach. So we know that the gut microbiome has a piece. And then there's also topical things that can be a factor in rosacea. So you talked about thickening of the skin. And in the worst case scenario, there's something called rhinophyma, where people can get very bulbous, like very large noses with a lot of skin thickening. And that we attribute to something called Demodex mites. So it's a little gross when people think about it, but we've all got like microscopic creatures living on us. And we have these microscopic mites. And there are ones that live in our face and eat sebum or oil that we produce naturally in our skin. And something seems to happen with rosacea where either there's too many Demodex mites or there's an immune system kind of inappropriate response where it can cause inflammation, thickening of the skin. And again, in the worst case scenario, that rhinophyma where people get like noses that can be 2 or 3 times the size of a normal nose. So there's a lot of things going on in rosacea that we need to deal with.
Okay, and it is hereditary, right?
So there's a hereditary component. So yes, I mean, when we see rosacea, we certainly ask our patients, is there a family history? But you could also be the first person in your family to have rosacea and nobody you know in your family may have it. So it can go either way.
Okay, yeah, because I definitely get it from my dad.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, I did see that it was a lot better. He said that they gave him, I want to say, an antibiotic. And he said since then, it has really diminished. So I was just wondering, I'm like, okay, that's when I realized, I'm like, oh, it's in the gut. And I kind of knew that because I'm like, I feel like when I eat certain things or I get in the sauna or spicy food, I've noticed that it does flare it up, which is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I think we're all striving to have better skin. And of course, topical creams and good skincare works, but I really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, of really what it is that we are ingesting and putting into our bodies.
Yeah, and you're so right. I think the approach so often to skin care or skin problems is, well, we can see the skin and touch it, so let's just put things on top of it, which certainly can help or make a difference. But we generate skin from the inside out. If you think about
Mhm.
it, we're a tube, right? The outside of the tube is the skin that we can touch and see. And we're connected at the mouth and at the tush, at the anus.
Mhm.
And the inside of the tube is our digestive tract, and it's all different types of epithelial or skin type tissue. And so it's connected. What is going on in your gut controls your immune system, and what is going on in your gut will directly impact what's happening on your skin. So, in
Yeah.
addition to paying attention to the things that we're doing topically and putting on our skin, we absolutely want to pay attention to what we're putting in our mouth and what's happening with our gut microbiome or the organisms that naturally live in our gut. And that's totally normal and healthy. We've co evolved with those gut microbes. And people are usually pretty astounded to learn how many microbes are living in our gut. It's trillions. It's about 3 to 5 pounds. So next time you step on the scale, you look at that number and you think, wow, 3 to 5 pounds of this are microbes living in my gut. And they belong there and we need them. And we want the right gut microbes to keep you and your skin healthy. If it's the wrong gut microbes, it can make you sick and it can cause skin problems.
OMG, that's a lot.
Yeah.
3 to 5 pounds.
It's like a hand weight that we carry around at all time, full with microbes.
Okay, and I have a bunch of questions in regards to that, but I did wanna ask you a little bit of a not personal, but if you feel comfortable, have you ever suffered with, any type of skin condition, doctor?
Yeah, so it's funny because people definitely think, well, oh, because I specialize in skin, maybe I had some sort of like acne or eczema, but I didn't. But it's a
Okay.
very naturopathic way I got to skin. So, another part of being a naturopathic doctor is we say treat the whole person. It's great in conventional medicine. We do have specialists but sometimes we kind of try to chop up the body like they're completely different, right? So
Mm.
it's like if you go to your dermatologist, they're only thinking about your skin. You go to the cardiologist, they're only thinking about your heart. You go to the gastroenterologist, they're only thinking about your gut. But it's all connected. We're one body, and our body, mind, and spirit is all connected and all impacts our health. So, from a naturopathic principle, we say treat the whole person, think about the whole body and the mind and the spirit. So, I actually got interested in dermatology because my first diagnosis with a chronic health disease was a thyroid autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's, which is very
Mhm.
common. And a lot of your listeners, particularly female, are going to be shaking their heads and saying, I have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. And when I first got diagnosed, I lived in LA and I went to a big, famous center. And I was just shell shocked that they said, well, we don't know what causes it. We don't know how to fix it. We're going to give you this medicine, but it may not help and we can't do anything about it. And I just walked out of there just really shell shocked, thinking, we have like the best medicine in the world, the best minds working on this. And this is the answer that I'm going to be tired and overweight the rest of my life. And we don't know what caused it or how to fix it. So I started doing research and I tried to figure out like what could be causing a thyroid problem. And the more I looked at it, the more I found our food and then our personal care products. So a lot of the products that we put on our skin are what are called endocrine disruptors. They're hormone disruptors and they can
Yeah.
affect our thyroid. And with all the like lotions and shampoos and makeup and deodorants and things that women put on their skin on a daily basis, women can average 500 chemicals a day through these topicals. We absorb it and it can impact things like our thyroid and cause hypothyroidism. So I started researching and trying to make my own skin products and trying to clean up what I was putting on my skin and absorbing into my body. And then I fell in love with skin and dermatology. So
Oh my
that's
gosh.
how I became a specialist, is through my thyroid, which is a very naturopathic thing because it was actually a different organ system that was impacted by skin. Everything is impacted by skin.
Well, look at that. I also have hypothyroidism
Yeah.
and I take medicine every day.
Yeah.
And my doctor said I'm going to have to take medicine for the rest of my life. But I got off the medicine. I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate my way through this. I looked, I went to a holistic doctor, and I've removed gluten, and I try not to have so much dairy, and I do feel the difference. But as soon as I stopped taking it, they're 7 pounds 2 weeks later. So I got right back on it. But I do feel that we can heal our bodies exactly with what you said. It's what we put. I'm getting better, even getting my nails done. I'm looking for organic nail polish. And I mean, these are things that I didn't really think about when I was younger. And now I'm like, I'm going to hit 40. Like, I need to like take care of myself more and be careful with what it is that I'm putting on my skin. It's the largest organ in our body, you guys.
It is. And you're like so many women, there's so many pressures on women to beautify and do treatments and all of these things. And I used to get my nails done every week. I used to have acrylic nails and never thought twice about it, never thought that could impact health. And then, obviously now I'm a naturopathic doctor, and all of that is part of my job to know. But yeah, I mean, learning that there's formaldehyde in nail polish, we absorb things through the nails into our system. Formaldehyde is what we preserve dead bodies with. Well, we're alive. We don't want to be absorbing formaldehyde.
Oh my gosh.
So now they're trying to do things like making formaldehyde-free nail polish and other things. But it is a little difficult because we identify and take out one dangerous chemical, but then sometimes the things that they put in can end up being worse. And so it is just being mindful and asking like, well, what is this doing to me? And do I need this? Does this make me feel beautiful, or do I need it to feel beautiful? Or are there some other options?
Now I'm starting to be a lot more cautious and really looking at the ingredients, and I do feel the difference. I do feel like I have more energy, and my goal is to eventually stop taking this medicine, and heal my body. But anywho, now, because I do want to talk about what we are ingesting and what are some things that you recommend us staying away from to have clear skin. So let's start there. For instance, how do you feel about dairy?
So personally, I don't like dairy, especially the way that we manufacture and consume it in the United States. If there's any West Coast listeners and you've driven up I-5 and you pass these stinky, like enormous, I mean, those are the meat ones, but cows live in these what are called CAFOs, concentrated animal feed operations, and they are not living normal lives. We're not feeding them normal food. Cows are supposed to eat grass. We're feeding them corn, things to fatten them up. And so the milk from these cows is not great quality milk. But even more than that, if we step back and just think about it from like a 30,000 foot picture, and I go through this with patients, I say, what is milk? Why is there milk on the planet? Right? What is the purpose of milk? And you used to drink milk. When did you drink milk?
When I was a baby, when I was younger.
And that was appropriate. And the definition of being a mammal is that the mother produces milk for an infant, and that infant starts off life drinking milk. But then at some point, every mammal on planet Earth since the history of time transitions off of milk and onto their main food source, whether that's grass for a baby cow or, hunting antelope for lions. You come off the milk, you transition to your food, and you will never have milk again, ever, as a baby mammal. You will also never have milk of another species. A cow is not going to allow an elephant baby to come over and drink from it, or vice versa. Yeah. So it is not a normal thing biologically for adults to be drinking milk or drinking the milk of another species. And a lot of people have lost an enzyme called lactase, which is the ability to digest milk. So people who are like, oh, I'm lactose intolerant, they can't do it because if they drink milk, they will immediately get like tummy aches or diarrhea or big problems. But the rest of the population can digest it. But again, it's not an appropriate food source because we are not baby cows, and we never will be, and we never were. Yeah. And so milk, I think, can be a problematic food. And again, the cows that are producing the milk here are not particularly healthy. There's certain of my patients where I really stress that they cut out milk. Those would be my acne patients and my eczema patients. Acne is driven by something called overproduction of sebum. Sebum I mentioned before with the Demodex mites. So every hair follicle, and including the ones on our face, and even women have little tiny hairs all over their face. It produces sebum, which is like an oil, and that's good. That lubricates the skin. But an overproduction of sebum is the first step in development of acne. And milk triggers a pathway that's going to drive the overproduction of acne. So any of my acne patients, I say, take out all milk. And then the negotiation becomes that they say, what about sheep or cow or camel? No, any milk that came from a mammal mama, it was turned into anything, whether it's a glass of milk or cheese or ice cream, it doesn't belong in your system. Eczema is the other one, because I really find that my eczema patients really react to dairy. I mean, I have yet to meet an eczema patient who does well on dairy, and it manifests in, further skin rashes for their eczema. So the milk can do different things. If a patient doesn't have any skin issues and they can digest milk just fine, then great.
More power to you. Is there a milk that you recommend, like almond milk or oat milk or anything like that?
So the problem is that starts to become pretty artificial. There are like machines that people can make nut milks at home, like almond cow or something like that. And what I tell people is start, reading the ingredients of everything you eat. So look at the nut milk that you're going to buy in the store. And if it has 5 or fewer ingredients, probably it's okay. Once you start getting a long list of multisyllabic sounding ingredients where you're like, I can't even pronounce it, let alone know what that is, it is probably not good for you. Because if you don't know what it is, your system did not evolve to eat it. It was developed in a lab, and it is probably not good for you. But if you see, cashews and water and, something like that, okay, then you can drink it.
Okay. So is that where the term GMO or non-GMO comes from?
That's a kind of different pathway where they have messed with the DNA and the genes of an organism. And that can be, something like tomatoes that they're trying to make seedless or other things. But yeah, genetically modified is different.
Do you recommend your patients to take prebiotics, postbiotics?
Probiotic is like a microorganism. So it's a bacteria. So when we say I'm taking probiotics, it can be yeast, but usually we're talking about bacteria. And so a lot of times the probiotics you'll find in the refrigerator section. And the reason they're in the fridge is to try to keep those bacteria alive. So again, people might think like, oh no, I have 3 to 5 pounds of microbes in my gut. Like that sounds scary. I want to get rid of them. No, we don't. We need our good guy microbes. So the probiotics are good guy bacteria, and those can be really helpful. The prebiotic is really the food for the bacteria, for the probiotics. What is food for probiotics? Well, it's fiber. So you could take like an artificial prebiotic supplement, or there's synbiotics now where they do combination pre and probiotics together, but you don't need that. I work with my patients on eating plants and getting 35 grams of fiber a day. That fiber is the prebiotic that feeds the probiotic, the organism, and a postbiotic is the things that the organisms make for us that are good. And that's why we've co-evolved to have them. So, for example, there's a bacteria called Faecalibacterium who lives in our gut. And we feed fiber, and Faecalibacterium eats the fiber, and then it creates something called butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid. And we can't make the butyrate, but butyrate feeds the cells of our intestines, keeps them healthy, and it keeps everything, including our immune system, nice and calm in the gut. So it's a natural process of prebiotics, you're eating the fiber, postbiotics, hopefully you have a good, healthy microbiome in there. And then the postbiotics are the things they're going to make. So we don't need to take them in pills.
Okay.
But if people's diets are like McDonald's and, a lot of like meat and carbs and alcohol and sugar and not a lot of fiber, that's where a probiotic could be helpful for them to try to kind of set things a little bit right, because probably things are off if they haven't been eating the healthiest.
Got it. And so whole foods are always the best way to go.
Yes, the produce aisle is where I recommend patients spend a lot of their time. And I recommend that patients play something called the rainbow game, which is that they go to the produce aisle and do their normal shop for produce. And then they look in their basket and they're going to go through the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. They're going to identify which colors are missing. And then they go back through the produce aisle a second time and get something from each missing color group. That way, we've got the rainbow in their basket. And over the course of the week, they're going to eat something from each color group. That's going to diversify the types of plants that they're eating, get them to try new things. But those colors are more than just beautiful. They're full of things called polyphenols, which are these tiny little nutrients that do things like help prevent dementia and also feeds our gut microbiome and also makes your skin really beautiful. So the reds in pomegranate or raspberries, those anthocyanins, the blues and blueberries and blackberries, they do amazing things for your skin. So eating the rainbow is a great thing for all of us to practice.
I freaking love that. I love how you said it so beautifully. And I just went grocery shopping yesterday. I'm so proud to say that my cart did look like a rainbow. I had collard greens, I had kale, I had my blueberries, my strawberries. Oh my gosh, I'm doing good, guys. I'm so excited.
That's
So,
awesome. It's really fun to do with farmers markets too, because everything's changing at the farmers market. And kids, you can involve your kids too. And then maybe they'll eat it when they get home because they picked it out. It's a little bit easier.
I like that. You're right. Okay, so going back a little bit to the fiber, what kind of fiber do you recommend for your patients? Like, is it in the greens? Is it like a powder?
Yeah. So the good news is that any plant has fiber. So there's no fiber in animal products. So if you're eating like a steak or chicken or fish, no fiber. No fiber in dairy, no fiber in eggs. But any plant item, so nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruits, grains, all have fiber.
Okay.
There's different amounts of fiber in different foods. So beans, for example, are a superfood, and beans have a ton of fiber. If you eat a cup of like kidney beans, you'll get like 15 or 16 grams of fiber. Amazing. If you eat a medium-sized apple, that's usually about 4 grams of fiber. So there's differing amounts in different foods.
Okay.
And I just have patients go for diversities. What I aim for them to get is 35 grams of fiber a day between all the different plants they're eating. And then we aim to get 30 different plants a week. And that's where that rainbow game helps is we don't just want to eat like the same thing day in and day out. You know, variety is the spice of life. And our gut microbes really crave variety too. So eating with the seasons, getting those different colors in, using herbs and spices to cook. And so many traditional cuisines already do this and do it beautifully. Fortunately, in America, we've taken out herbs and spices. It's a lot of beige fried food. But if we go back to, you know, the beautiful global cuisines of the world, it's already built in there. So if somebody has, you know, an ethnic background and they are from India or Mexico, I tell them like, go back, get your grandmother's recipes, try to cook those. They're going to be built in beautiful herbs and spices and plants and whole nutritious foods.
Yes. I did not know that there was fiber in nuts. I had no idea. That's great.
It sure is.
Because for a long time I stayed away from nuts because it's, if you eat too many nuts, you're going to break out. But no, right?
That's not necessarily true. I mean, obviously some people have nut allergies or kind of intolerances if they overdose it on nuts. But, you know, a little handful of nuts a day, most studies show that people who eat nuts tend to, you know, be healthier. It's a wonderful whole food.
Okay, good. I have nuts in my bag all the time now. Cashews and walnuts, and it's fun. I put a little bit of dark chocolate in there because I have a sweet tooth. So I've trying to just do dark chocolate. It's been tough.
And that cacao, that dark chocolate, also great antioxidants, great for your skin.
Ooh, see, look at that, guys. No wonder. I feel like my skin has been thriving ever since I changed my diet. My rosacea hasn't been flaring. And it has to do with all the little big changes that I've been making, especially with staying away from dairy has helped me so much.
Yes, it will.
It's tough. I'm not going to lie. But now that I'm thinking I want to look and feel better, I am maturing. So I have to take care of my body in a different way. So, and talking about that, is there anything else that you recommend? For instance, I have rosacea, and we did talk a little bit about the acne and the eczema, but are there like specific things that you'd say, okay, if you have this condition, this skin condition, stay away from these foods so that you don't have a flare up?
Yeah. So rosacea, and you mentioned it, is famous for spicy foods will make rosacea flare. So some people have trouble with spicy foods. Alcohol can make rosacea flare. Sometimes it depends on the type of alcohol for people. So I have some rosacea patients who can get away with like a beer, but if they have wine, they'll flare, or vice versa. And it's not a food, but the direct sun exposure, UV radiation, tends to make rosacea flare as well. So those are kind of some big ones to be aware with rosacea. Spicy foods don't tend to affect my acne or eczema patients. We talked about dairy for them. Wheat and gluten can affect my eczema patients. Gluten can affect psoriasis patients as well. So I have patients kind of experiment with it. Eczema is called atopic dermatitis or allergic dermatitis. So there's a whole host of foods that eczema patients may need to stay away from, including like eggs, or if they know they're allergic to something.
Okay.
But really eating a whole food, plant-based diet with healthy meats. So we want to get our meats from, like, if it's fish, wild caught, if it's poultry, pasture-free roaming, if it's meat, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished.
Okay.
And I make the distinction, not just grass-fed, because it's this cat and mouse game between producers who want to sell things cheaply and consumers who want to be healthy. And consumers were looking for grass-fed beef. Obviously, that's healthier. Grass is a normal food for cow. That's the food they're supposed to eat. They don't do well on corn, but the corn fattens them up and makes them grow quickly so that they can get to slaughter, but they get sick. So then they have to give those cows antibiotics. So it's a whole problem when you're not feeding an animal what they're meant to eat. When a cow eats grass, it's very healthy, and it contains healthy omega-3s even in the beef. But manufacturers, what they'll do is try to game the system, and they'll put the cow on pasture for a little bit of time so they can claim that that cow was grass-fed, but they take them in and fatten them up on the last 4 months with corn. And then that kind of eradicates all the gains from putting them out on the grass. So when you're looking for grass, make sure you're looking for 100% grass-fed or grass-fed, grass-finished, to make sure that that manufacturer isn't trying to pull one over on you, and that you are getting that really healthy beef that was out on pasture its whole life.
Absolutely. I agree. And I know some of you are thinking, oh my goodness, it's so expensive. Yes, it can be expensive, but also I always say these are things that we are putting into our bodies, you guys, that are keeping us alive. We just have to change our lifestyle a little bit. Stop doing, I don't know, going out and drinking and getting your nails done even, so that you can have more money to buy these whole foods, you guys, and buy this quality meat. You guys have to just kind of really make a better choice for yourself so that you can live a healthier life.
100%. And there is nothing more expensive than being sick. You can't work. Suddenly you have all these medical bills. The number one reason for bankruptcy in the US is due to medical expenses.
Yeah.
Right? And that's due to chronic disease. And just think about the last time you had the flu or you were sick. Nothing else matters when you're sick. Now you're going to have a chronic disease. Nothing else matters. It's when we're healthy, we take it for granted and we think we're never going to be sick. But then when you're sick, sometimes we can't make people better. And so, yes, it is more expensive to buy the grass-fed, but in the long term, it's actually less expensive.
Yes. There you go. That part. And you are a registered herbalist. So are there any herbs that you can talk about and tell us about to help clear up our skin?
Yeah. So again, depends what, disease people have. Is it acne, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea? I have very, very different treatment plans with different herbs. And I do gut microbiome testing on every patient. So before I see a patient for the first visit, they have to do a poop test, which does involve they poop into a tray and then they collect the stool and put it in a vial and they will send in that sample to a lab.
Okay.
And then they also pee in a cup and send that in. And I get back 2 reports, which shows me their gut microbiome. I can see exactly what's living in their gut. Is the good stuff there? Is the good stuff there in enough numbers? Is there bad stuff there I need to get rid of? And then depending on their unique gut microbiome profile, then I'll prescribe herbs for them to take orally so that we can fix things in the gut.
Okay.
So that is like part of the prescription. I don't prescribe pharmaceuticals, not orally or topically. It's an herbal protocol. And that I think somebody needs to know and be, directed by a licensed, naturopathic doctor or herbalist.
Okay.
But there's lots of great herbal things that we can put on our skins. When I was growing up and we get a burn, first thing your mom would say is go put some aloe vera gel on it.
Mm-hmm.
And aloe is wonderful. I mean, it's not the green gloopy stuff that you find in some pharmacies. It's actually a kind of clear, opaque liquid. And it comes from the aloe plant. And it is a wonderful substance. It doesn't just heal sunburns. I mean, it will help with producing more collagen in the skin. It can help with wrinkles. It can help with eczema and psoriasis. So all of the plant world, we can use both orally and we can use topically. I use beautiful plant oils. I'll do essential oil mixes. Hydrosols are byproducts of the essential oil making process. It's like a tea. So my toners, I'll spray hydrosols like from rosemary or lavender. So the same as I'm prescribing herbs internally, I'm prescribing herbs topically as well. And they're great.
And where are you based?
So my office is based out of Los Angeles, but I am licensed in California, Oregon, and Washington. I'm often full and close to new patients, but I have a training program. I train licensed healthcare providers. So everybody from board certified dermatologists to other naturopathic doctors or nurse practitioners who are interested in skincare. And if your listeners want to find a practitioner I've trained, they can go to rootcausedermatology.com and click on find a practitioner. And they've all been trained in my methods to have a non-pharmaceutical root cause approach where we figure out what's going wrong in the body and let's fix that. So we're not just doing suppressive medication forever and ever.
Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. And what was that website again?
Root Cause Dermatology. And my clinic office site is integrativedermatologycenter.com.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. I had such an this was so informative, so much confirmation. So thank you so much. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add that we didn't touch on, anything that I'm missing.
We didn't talk about sugar. So just a word of warning, right? I mean, we are a sugar nation and sugar really is addictive, but the food that will age your skin the fastest is sugar, unfortunately. So, in addition to, we know that other things, it can cause diabetes and other sorts of problems. Really think about reducing that sugar for your skin because skin, we want nice, supple collagen. Collagen is a protein. We want nice fluid collagen. Obviously, as we age, we're going to develop things like wrinkles and whatnot, but we still want to be producing as healthy collagen as we can. When we eat sugar, it kind of gets into the fibers of the collagen and it makes the collagen crunchy. We don't want crunchy skin. We want nice, supple, fluid skin. So really one of the biggest agers, I would say is sugar. And of course, we're learning more and more about alcohol. Well, while I do like a nice drink every now and then, it really is a toxin and it's a big ager. So it can lead to increased dementia and all sorts of problems as well.
That's one thing I've also stayed away from. I've been staying away from for like a couple months now, and I definitely see the difference in my skin. And going back to sugar, do you mean sugar like refined sugar, honey? Is it all kind? Because I love honey, so I don't know. I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, I mean, all sugar will do it. Definitely, like honey is healthier than like high fructose corn syrup. And if someone has allergies, going to the farmer's market and getting raw local bee honey can help reducing the allergen to pollens in someone's area. But it all eventually is sugar. So we just want to be really mindful and, not overuse sugar in things where we don't have to. And the less sugar you eat, the sweeter things will taste. The more sugar you eat, the taste receptors get like dulled to sugar, and then you need more sugar to taste it. So,
Oh, wow. Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense. Okay, and quickly, coffee. How do you feel about coffee?
So I love coffee. I used to drink my coffee, before I was a naturopathic doctor, almost like a dessert. There was so much milk and sugar in there. I mean, it was really like a dessert beverage. And I used to look at people who drank just black coffee, no sugar, no milk, and think they were absolutely crazy.
Mhm.
But when I gave up dairy, I took the dairy out of the coffee, and then I was still using sugar. And then I was trying the artificial sugars, but there's no artificial sugar that's good for us. And so
Yeah.
I said, okay, I have to get rid of this. And now I love bitter coffee, like dark, bitter, black coffee. And it is amazing what the body can like change to when you start cultivating the taste for bitter. And that's why a lot of people don't like to eat their greens, because greens can be bitter. But if you
Yeah.
start eating it and cultivating the taste, your body really will start to get used to it and really love it. And now I love dark, black, bitter coffee. So I'm a fan. I think, not using plastics to make it. I like to do a
Mhm.
cold brew at home. It's a cold water infusion. You want high quality organic coffee. But the number one antioxidant consumed in the US by Americans is coffee.
Is coffee. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to see what that did. That makes a lot of sense. It's not necessarily the coffee, it's what we put into the coffee and add to the coffee that causes all the other stuff.
Yeah.
The skin. Okay, perfect. Honestly, Dr. Greenberg, you were a delight. Thank you so much. I'm leaving this conversation so inspired, and I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. I got to keep going. Thank you so much. And you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode as well. Please share it with everyone that you love, because this is what we're doing. We're sharing life literally in a podcast, you guys. So thank you, doctor, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Chiquis and Chill. Los quiero mucho. This is a production of iHeartRadio and the My Cultura Podcast Network. Follow us on Instagram at My Cultura Podcast and follow me, Chiquis, that's CHIQUIS. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and check us out on YouTube.